So welcome to today's Bernard Alvarez webcast. We were off last week for, I think it was my birthday or the 4th of July, or no, the 4th of July was just a few days ago. But anyway, I decided to take a week off, and now today we are back live, and we're going to be discussing something that I think is pretty important, at least for those of us who are going through, whether it be the geopolitical awakening or a spiritual awakening. But this has been around for quite a while now. And some people have asked me why I have distanced myself from the truther movement. And in case you have not noticed, much of my work now revolves around consciousness and elevating the consciousness of humanity. I've stopped inviting certain people on my webcast because of the distorted way of looking at the world that they have. And it's because of what I went through myself. And let me just start off by saying that the truth movement was a big part of my awakening process. And I do believe there is positive and negative in all things. But I'm just going to share with you today my story and what my experience was within the truth movement, as well as my reasons for distancing myself from it. So let's go back to the beginning, and I'm wondering how many of you have been, I don't know, following me back. Remember MySpace, okay? This started way back in the world of MySpace, and 2004, 2005, 2006, that era. Suddenly, I had become very popular on social media when I first started. When the first social media platform was MySpace. And as well, I was on YouTube, and I was basically sharing activist videos more so than spiritual videos. At the time, I wasn't quite sure whether I wanted to share my esoteric knowledge. I had been told by many people that, oh, no, you can't share this stuff. It's a secret, which was one of the reasons why I did start sharing it more publicly. But needless to say, it was a couple years after 9/11 happened. So let's look at what the term truther means. Now, the truther movement was born out of the 9/11 conspiracy. Now, whether you believe 9/11 was a conspiracy or not, there are many unanswered questions, and I, for one, still have many questions. But at the time, I was going through another spiritual awakening. Yes, I had my spiritual awakening in 1992, but I kind of put it on the back burner. And in South Florida, around I forgot when it was, 2003, 2004, we had Hurricane Wilma, and everything I'd ever built up was lost. I lost my business, I lost my home, I lost all the people that supported me in my work and whatnot. And something said to me, you have to do something to help humanity. You need to help humanity wake up. And I became a fervent, angry truther. You remember the term sheeple? I'm sure they're still using it. I was one of those mean truther people that were like, oh, these sheeple, they need to wake up. What's wrong with them? They need to wake up. But at the time, we're so excited about all this new information that was coming to us that I just wanted everyone to see what I was seeing and understand what I was seeing. Anyway, just like anything new, you want to share it with all your friends, and you're also guarded in the sense that if you're presented with information that doesn't correspond to this new information that you're understanding or you're assimilating into your consciousness, that you're going to get defensive. And I was one of those defensive, angry truthers. Well, let's move up a couple years, and I started migrating. MySpace was dying, and I started migrating over here to Facebook. And I had Facebook, I just never paid attention to it. And I was on Facebook, and I'm just trying to make friends and trying to, get new people kind of moved my audience over here to Facebook, I guess 2006, 2007. And I became friends. I was involved in the whole Starseed movement. Remember the whole Starseed thing that was really popular back then? And yes, you know, I do believe many of us are starseeds, and that's a whole nother show. I've done shows on it. You're welcome to go back and look at it. But I saw a gentleman who had bright, pinkish red hair, and his name was Aaron Starseed. I wonder how many of you know who that is. Anyway, I friended him, and the next thing I know, he made me an admin on his page here on Facebook, which is actually still here and it's still very popular. I wonder how many of you remember Exposing the Truth. We were the #1 truther page on Facebook. I think we had like 1 million followers back in 2008 or whatnot. But among the team was Joe Martino from Collective Evolution, Bill, oh my God, I'm going to forget his name. I'm so sorry, Bill. Bill from Minds.com, which is now Minds.com. Bill and Ian from Minds. Stan from the Mind Unleashed. All the big pages that you see now, we all started on Exposing the Truth. And it's still around. It's changed quite a bit. And Aaron as well is no longer Aaron Starseed, but he as well has transcended the whole truther movement. If anything, now it's become a page for skeptics. And it's good. I mean, it makes you think. It's good. It's not what it was, but it's still a very good page. I'm no longer an admin. I don't think Joe is. Maybe Bill still might be. But anyway, so we all started from that page, and it kind of made us popular. Collective Evolution came out with their first movie. Minds.com launched. As a matter of fact, I remember the first day we tested the video platform, and they're doing very well now. They're the alternative to Facebook, and I highly recommend them. But at the same time, now I have the Global Illumination Council. Do you remember the GIC.org? Don't go to that site anymore. Somebody hijacked the URL. Please don't go there. I don't know what's wrong with it. But we dissolved the GIC a couple years ago. But the GIC was very much about the awakening process. Now, for me, the awakening process was not only a spiritual awakening, it was a geopolitical awakening, and waking up to the fact that everything we thought was real really isn't real. We were big on the whole red pill, you know, take the red pill, the matrix and whatnot. And of course, a lot of it stemmed from the whole 9/11 conspiracy. And I was huge on Alex Jones. I watched every single movie, everything but from the Bohemian Grove to all of his 9/11 stuff. I used to listen to his radio show. I used to cross-post and promote a lot of his articles and whatnot. And I couldn't help but notice I was always angry. You know, Alex Jones was always angry, and I couldn't help but notice the people I was meeting and interacting with were always very angry. And some of the good things I want to say before I go into the why did I have to move away from this. Some of the good things that happened, yes, I learned a lot about the Federal Reserve. I had no idea the Federal Reserve was a privately held establishment. I had no idea about that. It did help me to question the collapse of the towers and, of course, Building 7. You know, my own common sense tells me, hey, man, that looks like a demolition. You know, whether you believe it's a conspiracy or not, that does not look right to me. As well, I became a chemtrail activist. I was working with a lot of people within the chemtrail movement. And of course, you might remember Roxy Lopez and I became very, very good friends. She was on a lot of my shows, and I still consider her a friend, actually. And we did a few video series together. And actually, she was the one that brought me to Revolution Radio. She started off on my Blog Talk radio station. So I had my Blog Talk radio station, and I was bringing on a lot of people within the conspiracy truther world. Everyone from Terry Joyce, Mark McCandless, Kerry Cassidy. I looked up to Kerry Cassidy. Project Camelot to me was, wow, I want to do what she's doing. She's getting all these wonderful people, and I ended up having a lot of those people on my broadcasts and made a lot of friends. So yeah, Some of these conspiracies were real, and some of them were just made up. And that's what I started noticing. I myself started noticing how I was behaving, that around every corner was a conspiracy. Now, don't get me wrong, GMOs, I'm not bought over on GMOs. I don't think it's a good idea to be messing around with the DNA of food. I don't believe it's a good idea to put poison into food. It's just common sense. So I don't know. Are they trying to do Agenda 21 and kill everybody? I think it's more about greed than trying to kill everybody, but that's one of the conspiracies. They're trying to kill everybody. But it was all about fear, and I started noticing that. Is GMO bad? Probably. Are they spraying us? Yeah. Now NBC News has come out and exposed chemtrails as a real thing. It's called geoengineering, and they're trying to alter, weather modification. Now we have architects coming out on 9/11. We have all these different things coming to the surface that, while were once considered conspiracy, are now conspiracy fact. So is there a conspiracy? My conspiracy that I believe in is the suppression of human consciousness, and that is what I work for today. But that's the end of this broadcast, and we'll get to that later. So I started noticing how I kept going down these rabbit holes. Like, I would see a post about the Illuminati or something, right? Everyone's in the Illuminati. They're killing babies, and they're all pedophiles, and this and that. And yeah, now a lot of that's coming to the surface about the pedophiles and government and whatnot, but I don't know how much that really has to do with the Illuminati. That, Freemasons have taken over the world, and they're evil, and they're all Satanists and whatnot. Well, I know a lot of Freemasons, and they're not Satanists, and they're not evil, and there's a gay agenda, and they're trying to turn everybody gay, and they're trying to turn people into transgender people by putting stuff in the food. And well, I've been gay my whole life. It was not anything I ate. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid. So it was like, a lot of stuff that they were saying just was not sitting right with me. And what had happened was I started living in cognitive dissonance because I knew better. I knew that the occult, as we call the occult, or the esoteric, or witchcraft, or paganism, or whatever you want to call it, was not evil. There are evil people that use it for evil means, but there was this vibe of satanic panic. Everything was Satanists, Luciferians. And I was like, well, I know lots of lovely people, I being one of them, who practice magic and practice are very learned in the world of the esoteric and the mystery religions, and we don't even believe in Satan. So what are you talking about? And then the straw that broke the camel's back for me, I was listening to Alex Jones one day, and it was probably about 2008, 2009, and Alex Jones said, oh, people are saying that homosexuals aren't pedophiles. Well, do fish breathe water? Or he said something ridiculous like that, insinuating that all homosexuals were pedophiles. I was like, that's it. I can't support this guy anymore. I can't. I just can't. This is ridiculous. Now, not only is he saying my religion is evil, not only is he saying that indigenous people worship the devil and that gays are pedophiles, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. So I started rolling back a little bit. And I've never really spoken about this. So now you're hearing why I had to roll back and why I just have zero tolerance for bigotry and hatred. And that's what I started seeing. We had John Trudell, God, rest his soul. Remember John Trudell? I hope you all do. He's amazing. He was on my show back in 2010, 2011. And this was during my moving away from the truth movement phase. I was just starting to move away from it. And he said, and I asked him right out, I was like, do you believe the elite are trying to kill us? Are they evil? Is there an Illuminati? Of course they think his stepdaughter, Angelina Jolie, is like the high queen priestess of the Illuminati. So Those of you that believe that may not believe anything John Trudell says, because he did raise her. But John Trudell said to me, he said, Bernard, we need to realize that these people feed off energy. They are mining your energy, and that really struck with me. He's like, they're mining your energy. I was like, what do you mean by that? They mine our energy. They keep our attention through the media, through sports, through politics, through divisive tactics, to drain us of our life force. Think about that. How many times do you have to walk away from Facebook because you feel drained? How many times do you have to turn off the news because you feel drained? How many times do you have to turn off all those stupid sports commercials because you feel drained? They mine our life force, and that really struck with me. So meanwhile, of course, my story was that I was a truther. I was a metaphysical truther. And I was still interested in, the Bilderberg group. I thought was very interesting still. And I would watch, I still like Luke Rakowski actually, but I remember I was watching Luke Rakowski covering the Bilderberg meeting. I forgot where it was. And there's Alex Jones screaming at the top of his lungs, you scumbag, da da da, calling everybody names, screaming over the fence like they're really going to hear him with his little bullhorn, screaming at the hotel where this conference is going on. You people are scumbags. You will never have us. You will never do this. And I'm like, oh my God. He's doing exactly what Trudell is talking about. He's getting us all worked up. He's using fear. He's draining and draining my life force just by his fear tactics. And then someone gave me the terminology. Somehow it came into my existence, that word fear porn, fear pornography. And I started realizing, wow, they're using fear to keep us clicking on their websites. And I started going not only through Alex Jones's websites, but many others within the quote unquote truther movement. And lo and behold, guess what? Their article or their post or whatever it was really was all speculation. There was no fact behind it. Oh, well, she looked out of her left eye at the 12 o'clock thing. She's Illuminati. It was like, what? How are you getting this? I mean, I don't know how they're putting these pieces together. They think they're seeing synchronicity, but meanwhile, on their page, on their website are 5,000 pop-ups and videos and ads and click this and buy this and the world's going to end and get your 2-year supply of, prepper stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think prepping is a great idea. I have a go bag. I mean, that's just common sense. But to live in fear all the time, I mean, to really promote fear, to profit off fear, to me is evil. To me, that's evil. And then finally, I'm going to share a story which I haven't shared publicly. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back of like, okay, now I'm done. I had a quote unquote friend who I thought was a friend, who was a member of the Global Illumination Council. And I think everything happens for a reason, because it's how I ended up in Roanoke. And I love my life here in Roanoke. But at the time I was living in Fort Lauderdale, and I was like, well, I think I want to move back to Massachusetts. I miss the mountains. I miss, nature. I do want to get out of the big city just in case, what hits the fan. It's not a good idea to be in a big city if the tanks start rolling down the street like Alex Jones keeps saying every other week. So I decided I was going to move back up to Massachusetts. And my friend's like, oh, please come to Roanoke and stay with me for a month. So I'm like, what's Roanoke? I had no idea. And I was like, oh God, that's the South. That's the Bible Belt. Do I really want to go up there? And so she talked me into it. I figured I'd save some money. And she's like, oh no, you can stay with me for free. Move everything up. And 3 days into it. Now, mind you, she was a truther conspiracy person. 3 days into being there, she told me I had to leave because her internet kept going out And because I am such a public figure, she is convinced that the CIA is watching us, and she doesn't want to get arrested for having someone like me staying in her house. Fear. Fear. I had nowhere to go. In a place I've never been, not knowing anybody. Me, my poor cat Isis. Thank goodness we found an apartment very quickly that I could rent month to month, and I'm glad it happened, not that way. Glad it happened. I love the neighborhood I live in. I still live in the same neighborhood of that first apartment, and I love Roanoke. But fear, she thought because her internet went out when I was there, that it was the CIA watching her. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I cannot have friends like this. I cannot have people like this in my life that think that every time there's a technical difficulty, it's not your cheap old 10-year-old computer, or it's the fact that you live in the country and you can't get really good internet, or the fact that, hey, sometimes the internet goes out. But I kept seeing that. I've been on shows where there are technical glitches, and you're like, oh, they must not like what you're saying, so they're trying to cut you off. Everything was they are doing this, they are doing this, they are doing this. Well, guess what? You are giving them your power. If they control your life and you are constantly running away from they, what kind of life is that? We're going to live in a cave somewhere? I mean, I know some people that have probably already moved into their bunker, the poor people, but to live in fear, to live in that much fear, and to have the truth movement, conspiracy movement, control your life that much, that you are seeing demons around every corner, that you cannot thrive or have friendships or relationships because they're MK Ultra, or, you know, they're listening. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course we know Google's listening. Let's be real. Google listens. Apple listens. You have a cell phone, they're listening. That's the reality of it. Yes, they listen. You have a camera on your TV, they're probably watching you. That's conspiracy fact. Yes, I agree. But to live in fear, if you don't like the camera, put a piece of tape over it, like the Facebook guy does. What's his name? I do it. I keep my camera turned toward the wall. I have I wish I could show you, I'm using it. I don't have a camera on my computer. I have an external camera, and I keep it facing the wall. I unplug my microphone from my computer when I'm not using it. Yeah, of course there are common sense things you can do for privacy, but privacy is not a conspiracy. It's a matter of greed. They want to know what you're thinking so they can sell you stuff. And yeah, if you're a dissident or something, they're going to put you on a list. So that was when I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't. So it was about a year or two later, we decided to dissolve the Global Illumination Council. Not only that, the support was just not there. There was just too much work for one or two people. I don't know how many of you have ever been on a board of directors. We had a board, and it was me and Treva and maybe one other person that did all the work for an organization of 50,000 people. And we just couldn't do it anymore. And I got tired of all the harassment, all the truther harassment. So some of the other things that I noticed, the truth movement eats itself constantly. I saw a video today, and I'm not going to mention who it was because they were a friend of mine, and I still consider them a friend, but they were attacking another person in the truth movement. And if you listen to these truth movement shows, they're always trying to belittle the other. Oh, well, they're MK Ultra. Oh, they're working for CIA. They're psyops. They're this. They're that. They're always the little demon, the working for the United States Secret Service or something like that. The truth movement cannot unite. And it brought me back when I saw this video today of someone who I actually like, but bashing somebody else, calling her an MK Ultra person. Like, geez, everyone's MK Ultra. It reminded me of my friend when I first got involved in the truth movement. And she said to me, you know, now this is a very educated woman. She worked for, actually she worked for a government agency that I was sort of involved in. I'm not going to go too much because I don't want to give their name away or anything like that, but it's someone that I knew back in the day when I was living in South Florida. And she said, Bernard, you know, a lot of the stuff that you post makes a lot of sense. And a lot of these stories that even like Alex Jones talks about is enough to make you wonder and enough to make you question, and perhaps there's some truth behind it that needs further exploration. However, the way that it's presented, you'll never be taken seriously. So here we have these really dark, deep, corrupt forces that are getting away with murder, literally, as far as I'm concerned, and they still are. But we can't do anything about it because we have morons, sorry, I'm going to say it, morons like Alex Jones acting like an idiot to the public and making everybody look crazy and stupid. But meanwhile, these are real issues. So, I don't know, does he work for MK Ultra? Maybe he's the disinfo guy. I mean, I've heard that story too. But there's so many others out there doing the same thing. It's an embarrassment. How can anyone be taken seriously? Well, good example. And actually, I want to do a shout out because I still enjoy David Icke. I don't know if I take him seriously. Him and his reptilian, you know, the Queen's a reptile and all that stuff. I like David Icke. I like the way that he's calmer about the way he presents these far out theories. He does talk about, you know, humanity rising up, a lot of the stuff that I talk about, and actually he has toned down his rhetoric on the reptilians and whatnot. But that's not to say, do I believe in UFOs? Yes, I believe in UFOs. Do I believe in different races of ETs? Absolutely. Do I believe that there could be malevolent ETs influencing government? It's a possibility. But I will say this, and I'll say this to anyone who's still supportive, blindly supportive of people within the truth movement. One thing that my spirit guides, yes, I'm going to say it, my spirit guide said, if you weren't there to witness it yourself, it is merely speculation. However, if you know someone who was there to witness it, and you have a firsthand story, and you trust that person, then maybe you can bring it into your realm of what truth is. But if you haven't seen it, it's speculation. So we have this whole movement of millions of people around the world who are allowing speculation to be their truth. Have you seen the Queen turn into a reptile? Have you seen, I don't know, the 5,000 things that Alex Jones says is happening that aren't really happening? Actually, for that matter, the things that I talk about. Have you seen an ET? I have, but you haven't. So then maybe you don't need to believe in ETs. I've seen ETs. I know that they exist for me. But I'm not telling you to believe it until A, you trust me and you say, okay, Bernard saw one, I believe him, or you see it for yourself. Don't speculate. Use discernment. If we are going to elevate humanity, if we are going to move, let's say all these conspiracies are true. Let's just speculate Agenda 21 is real. Let's speculate that, and actually we probably don't even need to speculate the fact that there are 13 families running the world and commerce and whatnot. But let's just say we're speculating. How are we ever going to lift humanity out of this corrupt oppression if we don't know how to use discernment? What is discernment? Clarity of thought. Understanding that speculation is not real. That just because you think it, and just because so-and-so says it's real, it doesn't mean it's real. I can go down a rabbit hole right now and I can start believing that, I don't know, that I'm a reptilian. You can find supporting evidence, and that is what is so wonderful about the internet, good and bad, is that you will get into a debate with someone on Facebook, and they will post 5,000 things and links and posts to support this crazy, convoluted, speculative theory, whether it be conspiracy or corruption or Republicans or Democrats or ETs. You can always find something to support it. Now, that's not to say, hey, give yourself a break. I had to give myself a break. I fell for it. I fell for it for a couple years. Give yourself a break. Our brains are wired to believe in conspiracy. It's about the whole fight or flight thing. It's about, you know, if someone says there's a lion on the edge of the village, we had to believe them. It was for protection. It's ingrained in us to believe conspiracy. It is. It's part of our wiring. You know, the whole thing, like, I call it the rubbernecking syndrome. You know, an ambulance is out front. Well, guess what? Half the neighborhood's going to be out front wondering who's in the ambulance. What happened? The cops show up. 30 people are going to be out on the corner standing and staring at that. I call it rubbernecking. And that's exactly what the conspiracy and truther movement does, is it rubbernecks and it gives all this attention, but going back to what John Trudell said, allowing our energy to be mined, allowing this nonsense, some nonsense, some not, a lot of it not. I mean, a lot of it is, I should say. A lot of it is nonsense. But using discernment to know what is important for us to give our attention to and allow it to have our energy. Over the last few years, you'll notice I settled on the greatest conspiracy of all. And yes, I do believe it is a conspiracy. The suppression of human consciousness. And I think the truther movement is now a part of that conspiracy to distract us. Whether it be corporate news, alternative news, a lot of the alternative news is nonsense. Don't get me wrong. I prefer non-corporate news. I prefer Collective Evolution. I prefer Luke Rakowski. I prefer, hell, even Tim Cass if he's when he's on once in a while. I prefer Amy Goodman. I prefer a lot of the alternative news, but the reality of it is a lot of it is, it's to make money, to have you, it's clickbait. It's clickbait. And the reason why I say this is that the conspiracy to suppress human consciousness has been going on long before the 9/11 truth movement started. That started back in ancient Egyptian times when I've talked about this before. It started back in ancient Egyptian time. Look up the Kemetic people and look up the Hanuti, and how it used to be where human beings were able to connect with, you know, the Holy of Holies, with, you know, connect with God, Goddess, and not need a priest. Well, then they made it that you needed to have a priest. And then from the Egyptians, we went on to the Jews, which is the same thing, had to have a rabbi to get to the Holy of Holies. It had to be an intermediary, suppressing our consciousness. Same thing with the Catholic Church. Same thing. The greatest conspiracy is the suppression of human consciousness. And now it's with TV. Now it's with the morons that are running the country. And I'm not talking just the Republicans. I'm also talking about the Democrats. You're just as guilty. It's a distraction. It suppresses our consciousness, and we allow them to mine our energy. So where is the truth movement today? Well, the final straw for me was when, and it's going to be a very unpopular thing to say, but I'm sure this whole broadcast is going to be unpopular, was Donald Trump's racism, Donald Trump's anti-gay rhetoric, anti-trans rhetoric, anti-immigrant rhetoric. And yet these people who are against the government, the truther movement, oh, they're going to put us all in concentration camps. Well, guess what? They're not putting you in concentration camps. They're putting other people in concentration camps. But you're okay with that. That's where I'm done. I'm done. They will not be on my shows. I will not promote their books. I will not share their links. And I will not give them my attention. The truth movement has now become the Trump movement. And it's shown itself to be a hate group. That's all it is. That's all it is. The good news is there are a few people like me still out there. Actually, one of them is Naomi Wolf, who I actually like. Naomi Wolf, Naomi Klein, Amy Goodman, Arundhati Roy, people that are still exposing corruption and even talking about things like 9/11 that aren't bigots, racists, homophobes, that aren't trying to, put indigenous people in concentration camps. But the 9/11 truth movement, it's dead. The one I knew is dead. And all of us who were there in the beginning, myself, Collective Evolution, Minds, all that, have distanced themselves because it's an embarrassment. We are here to elevate the consciousness of humanity and to free humanity from the corrupt forces, from these people that are, destroying the 9/11 Twin Towers, that are creating war, that are, promoting genocide, and, all of these things that are going on in the world. But as long as it's not happening to the white people on the truth movement, it's okay. But meanwhile, it's happening to everybody else. Now, done. Lost a lot of friends over that. People that I had worked with for years. And even within the UFO exopolitics, you see a split because the truther racist contingent is awful, and a lot of people just don't want to work with these people anymore. And I think it's a horrible thing that's happened. And I just hope that hearing my story on why I had to walk away from that and why I don't have these people on my webcasts anymore and why I walked away from radio. I just couldn't have it. I didn't want to be angry. I didn't want to feel bad. And not only did I not want to feel bad, I didn't want to be told that my religion was wrong, or that who I loved was wrong, or the fact that I'm not a white person. Really? You're going to tell me because I have indigenous blood and I come from immigrants that I deserve to be in a concentration camp? My family doesn't. The indigenous people in Latin America do not belong in concentration camps, and the truth movement should be ashamed of itself. Anyway, I'm going to go. I've gone on longer than I thought. I look forward to next week. I look forward to hearing your, please be civil in your discussions in the comment section. I want to say hi to everybody that's there. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to look at all the comments. I'll take a look at them now. But be discerning. Be discerning. Who are you giving your attention to? And if you're hearing these outrageous conspiracies and you're seeing 30,000 ads pop up, they just want your money. It's called clickbait. So stay away from that stuff. And if you see just because someone's popular doesn't mean they're telling the truth. Learn the difference between speculation and experience. And actually, I'll leave you with this one last thing before I go. My favorite quote of Joseph Campbell, who I love dearly, and he was a mentor to me when I was moving into the spiritual world. And I've told this story before, but it applies for this very purpose. And many other ways as well, too. But anyway, he was being interviewed by Bill Moyers. It's on The Power of Myth. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, it is on Netflix right now. So watch it while you can. He was being interviewed by Bill Moyers. And he was telling a story how he was at the New York Athletic Club. And he was swimming in the pool with a priest. And the priest says, Mr. Campbell, do you have faith? And Joseph Campbell looks at the priest and says, no, Father, I don't have faith. I have experience. Remember that. If you did not see it with your own eyes, if you did not hear it from someone who you trust, who saw it with their own eyes, it's speculation. Please be discerning. Remember where you're giving your focus to, and do not let the quote-unquote Illuminati or the elites or whatever you want to call them, as John Trudell said, do not allow them to mine your energy anymore. I love you. Have a great week.